About 45 seconds. $20.
You want me to say it, or just we're gonna do it later?
You...
So you want me to do it now? Okay. This is Butch Leake, formerly of the Drifters, and you're listening to Golden Grooves Radio.
Did you get that music? Okay, we're going live now. Stand by.
Of your favorite listening place on The Mango Show with DJ Mango. Music all the time. So I like just the tip line.
You think you've got something?
I want to keep digging. Golden Grooves Radio presents Spotlight with DJ Mango and DJ Music.
And a very good evening too. Welcome to the Spotlight Show on this very special day. Our guest tonight joined the legendary group The Drifters as a second tenor in 1970 and stayed with them until 1975. And he helped the band achieve some more memorable hits like Down at the Beach Tonight, Kissing in the Back Row of the Movies, Love Games, and There Goes My First Love, which topped the British and European charts in the early 70s. He's with us tonight. We're talking about none other than the legendary Butch Leake. Hello, sir.
Hi there. How you doing?
Pretty good. Thank you so much for coming on and talking to us.
Oh, thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. And also, we've got music over there in Charleston. Music, are you there? Absolutely awestruck, actually. So you was in the Drifters from 1970 until 75. Is that right?
Actually, and from 1970 to the beginning of 1976, to be correct.
Right. Okay. So the Drifters are I did a lot of research in the Drifters. Are quite a turbulent band. They've had so many members throughout the years, haven't they?
Yeah, something like 65 members, and actually the Drifters as an organization has been in existence for around 65 years. So wow. You could almost take a man a year.
Unbelievable amount of years. So I'm looking at it was what was it? You was actually you joined it replacing Rick Shepherd. Is that correct?
Yeah, I replaced Rick Shepherd in the beginning of 1970, actually. Rick was leaving the group, and actually, I was how I actually joined the group was I was in a nightclub up in Harlem, a place called Allen's Alley, and we were just sitting there singing and harmonizing and drinking, getting a little boozed up, so to speak. And there was a guy in there called Bill Fredericks, and Bill Fredericks, he was one of the lead singers with the Drifters, and me and him just started, harmonizing, and he yelled, "Oh boy, this guy can sing," Then he asked me, "What are you doing?" I says, "Nothing right now. I had just gotten out of the military. You know, I had just gotten back from Vietnam." And he said, "Well, you know, would you be interested in performing with a group?" And I said, "Well, who are we talking about?" And he said, "The Drifters."
Was you a Marine then, Butch?
Say again?
Was you a Marine? You
A
say you was
Marine?
in you was in the military. Was you a Marine?
No, I was in the Army. I was with the 101st Airborne Division.
Right, because we got a military man with music over there.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I did about 6 years. I wanted to make it a career, but um, my mother, she was very ill at the time, so I decided to you know, leave the military. Yes, my mother, she was actually a dancer, and she also, you know, she used to spend a lot of time, you know, around show business people. You know, she worked, you know, clubs around the country, either as a dancer or she was working as a, you know, a bartender, and she used to carry me around with her everywhere she went. So you know, I grew up kind of in a nightclub, you know, so. You know, and she had, you know, many friends. I mean, I come later on in the later years, I come to find out, you know, some of the very biggies, you know, in show business, like Lena Horne was one of her best friends, you know. Well, you know, probably, you know, in the early days when we used to do the tours, because we used to do what, you know, what you call the rock and roll revivals back there in those days. Um, and I got to, you know, rub shoulders, you know, with people like Wilson Pickett, you know. Um, Eventually, of course, you know, I met Benny King, and you know, and some of the others that you spoke of. You know, I've met over the years, you know. Um, and yeah, I guess you might say one was a little, you know, starstruck. Um, you know, but hey, aren't we all when we're at that age? Yeah, basically. I mean, I grew up with. Actually, I went to school with Frankie Lyman. Remember Frankie Lyman? Yeah,
Wow, really?
yeah, yeah. We went to the same high school, which was Stitt Junior High School at 163rd Street in Uptown New York. So, I mean, I knew Frankie. I knew, you know, I knew his brother Timothy Lyman, and of course Lewis Lyman. And during those times, we used to always do the you know, the school shows and um, talent shows and so on and so forth. Then we had on the weekends, we used to have out in a park right on 150th Street in New York. We used to have the battle of the groups and stuff. So we had people like Shep and the Limelights would come down and sing, and you know, these guys we idolize, you know.
The golden
So
doo-wop days.
those are the golden doo-wop days. That's what it was.
Looking on the Wikipedia and in all the information about the Drifters, it says that there's three golden eras from the Drifters. Obviously, the 50s, the 60s, and the early 70s. So that was when you was with them.
That's correct.
So they're the golden eras. And I must say, I said to you off air that the songs that came out during 1970, 75 were some of the best Drifters songs, in my opinion.
Well, you know, yes, I mean they were great. I mean, and if you compared them in terms of the charting with the songs that came out of the 60s period, you'll see a lot of compatibility with the where they ended up in the charts. And that's interesting because when Roger Greenway began to write some of these songs and produce the music that we did, he paid a lot of attention to the earlier music. So when you hear some of the titles of those, you can compare them with some of the titles of the of the old songs, because the Drifters were songs that they were the love songs, those songs that you could relate to, like Under the Boardwalk. Everybody understands Under the Walk. Kissing in the Back Row of the movies. Yeah, these are things that we did.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Yes, he was. Yeah, me and Bill, I knew him. And me and Bill were very close. He was actually one of my best friends. And he brought me into the group, and with all the politics that was going on, he got me through, and and. So yeah, me and Bill we were always quite close. I mean, me and all the guys were quite close, but we had our ups and downs inside, at times. What you said, the worst and well, the Drifters was a very it was a lot of politics. It was a lot of things going on inside, particularly with management and with the way the organization was run, and sadly, they kind of treated many of the guys and not too well. I never really liked that, but I was a young young boy at the time, and I didn't have much power, inside the group. So, one had to go along kind of with what the program was. But we, I used to argue with the guys at times, and they about, various things that went on. And, Johnny would say, don't do that, or Bill, cool, chill out, kind of. But I understood the business. You see, that's what it was. Though I was young, I was always very astute at understanding, the business and what, how it ran, and where the management was, because the management owned the name. They told you what to do, and some of the policies were, just weren't right. Matter of fact, they went against a lot of what the federations were putting forth. Because I was like a union member, and the unions didn't recognize, third parties. So, see, we in those days, we were signed to what you call Drifters Incorporated, which was a corporation. So we were employees. All the members throughout the history were basically employees of Drifters Incorporated.
Got a question come through for you. Sorry to interrupt you, in case we lose it in the chat there. Come through from the chat. It says that somebody said they saw the Drifters live at the City Centre night spot in Coventry at the end of 1975. Was you with the Drifters then?
At the end of 1975?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I would have had to be. Yes.
So the Catman Drew in the chat room there. Yes, Butch was there. The management you were talking about, Butch, was that George Treadwell?
Well, I mean, it started off with George Treadwell, you know, and of course, after he passed away in 1967, his wife took over, Faye Treadwell.
So George Treadwell owned the Drifters brand, didn't he?
Well, so to speak. I mean, that's been a somewhat the historical context of the Drifters over the years, but as you know, recently there was a litigation that was won by the Bill Pickney estate in terms of the Drifters name, and it was one based on a common law issue, and that common law issue, you know, basically said that there really was no documents, you know, that actually showed where George Treadwell actually had an assignment of the name the Drifters over to him. And then to take it further, in 1954 is when Drifters Incorporated was created, and he would have had to assign the you know, the rights to the corporation, you see. But for all intents and purposes, history has shown that he was the owner of, you know, the Drifters. But you know, I've always said, you know, for a long period of time, I always wondered about that, because I kind of knew there was no documents that really actually showed that there was actually an assignment. But that's not taking nothing away from them, because they, I mean, you know, they George Treadwell and later on Faye Treadwell, they're much you know, very instrumental in where the Drifters had gone in all those years. You know, it's just that the policies that were set up within Drifters Incorporated and how it was run wasn't, you know, good for the members over the years.
You said off air that your favourite songs, one of them was Down at the Beach Tonight and Love Games. I've got the Down at the Beach Tonight queued in. Is there anything you can tell us about that nobody knows?
Not really. I mean, it's just one of the great, just a good song, you know, Down on the Beach Tonight. I mean, like I said, if you listen to the Drifters songs, Down on the Beach Tonight, you know, the title of the song, you go back to Under the Boardwalk, you hear, you know, you hear that compatibility. That's, you know, what's unique about, unique about the name of the song, as is with all the Drifter songs.
So let's hear that song now. Down at the Beach Tonight. This is the Drifters. And we're off air, but the music isn't, so we can chat.
Okay.
I've got another question come through. Must be really well travelled outside the USA. Which city in the world did he enjoy playing in? That was a question come through, so we can do that after the. Can you hear me okay above the music there?
Yes. Oh, you're asking me now?
Well, just to get in your mind to think about. But I'll ask you again when we go back.
Okay.
Which city in the world outside the USA did you enjoy playing in the most? Because you obviously travelled all around the world, have you, with the Drifters?
Oh, of course.
Yeah, wonderful. He does, doesn't he?
Yes. That's yes. Yeah. And also if you think of me in all that hair I used to have, you remember Jim Kelly? Yeah. Well, he used. Yeah, we used to train together. You know, when he come to New York, he would come by my dojo. You know. Yeah. Yeah. He was. Go ahead. Yeah, that was my buddy. You know. Yeah, those were those days. I used to hang out with those guys. Matter of fact, I used to hang out with a lot of those guys in Hollywood. Richard
So on
Roundtree.
this song that's playing now, Butch, you're not the lead singer, are you? Or are you?
No, no, no. I'm not the lead singer.
So
That's
what are you
Johnny.
doing? You're doing harmonies in the background, are you?
Yeah, yeah. That's Johnny Moore.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to see if I can hear your voice in the background.
Well, I was the second tenor, you see. So
Ah.
and sometimes first, but and even sometimes I would have to go down to baritone. But I was the second tenor. Grant was a first tenor. Johnny was a tenor, and Bill was a baritone bass in the early group. Yeah.
20 seconds, and we're back. Five seconds. And that's one of the songs everybody grew up listening to down at the beach tonight. And in the background there, you could hear our guest tonight, Butch Leake. Wonderful stuff. No, not the Who, it's Butch Leake.
Well, tell her I said hi.
So we've got a question come through from the chat there about other countries outside the USA. Which city in the world did you enjoy playing in the most, and you find the most welcoming?
Well, of course, I would say I put at the top of the list, of course, countries and cities within that country, of course, is Great Britain. I love Great Britain. I lived there for many years. I love the people. I love the fans, and that, I still consider that home. And I've actually even considered about, moving back to the UK maybe in the future. Outside of that, I think one place that's memorable to me is South Africa. Working in Johannesburg and Cape Town was and Durban was a lot of fun. I mean, it was really a lot of fun, and because at that time, they didn't get a lot of singers like us, to perform for them. And of course, apartheid was in at that particular time, and we actually went they didn't want us to perform there, but we went anyway, and we actually became, the first group to really ever have, integrated audiences. And that was in around 1974.
Right.
And go ahead. Yeah, I would say so. Yes, yes. That would have been a big factor. What you mean? Um, well, of course, if you're really talking about in the United States, and that, I mean, that's, and going back that far, even when I joined the group, we would run into, funny circumstances, particularly in the South, below the Mason-Dixon line, so to speak. But like, for instance, I give you an example. Once we were stopped, we were stopped on the road because we used to our road car. We used to drive this big Fleetwood black limousine, you see, and we would come through a town or whatever, and in those days, and the police would stop us, and they would begin to to hassle us. But then when they found out who we were, they knew the music, so to speak. So then they would change their tune, but we still, could go at some of these towns, and you still had to eat over in the black section as opposed to the white section. They still had that kind of segregation at times, in some of these places that you went. But you dealt with it. I mean, matter of fact, I remember when we went to South Africa, and I had to go to the men's room when we were, after I got off the plane and we got into the terminal. So I wasn't thinking. I just went on into the bathroom there and doing my thing up against the wall, and then realized it was saying for whites only. And everybody was looking at me like, is he real? I didn't pay it no attention, and but even while I was down there, it was, we were sort of ambassadors, and and I used to tell the press, I said, I'm not, I really don't care much about all that. It's it's a sad situation that it's that way, and I mean, they tried to keep me out of Soweto. They didn't want us to go to Soweto. And I remember I snuck away for a couple of days and went down and stayed in Soweto, and everybody had a fit. Where did he go? But that was my activist side coming out, and I had to go see what was going on and go hang out with the people, and I enjoyed those 2 days. They treated me like a king, So yeah, it's So you go around the world and you see things like that, but we always stayed above those negativities that was out there.
So I got a question for you, Butch. In 1976, early 1976, you actually left the Drifters there, and you was replaced by Joe Blunt, according to my research.
That's correct.
Why did you leave the Drifters?
Well, again, it was the internal politics that was going on with the group, and I had reached a point that I was kind of tired, with what was going on. I mean, the Bell group, or Bell Arista group, started to split up around 1974, and first Bill left, and he pursued a solo career. Then Grant left. They both left in and around 1974. I stayed on until 1976, and when Joe Blunt came in to replace me. It just I at that time I felt that I had served my time, and I wanted to move on for a bit. We were at the peak of where we were at, and just a lot of internal conflict that was going on. So we started, breaking up. Even though I did come back on occasion to fill in, to do maybe a couple of nights or a week or whatever, because they were having problems with the with the tours and the promoters, you know, or the police, the venues, the clubs, and they wanted to see, you know, some of the real, you know, the real people, the original members, so to speak. And so Johnny was there by himself, and of course, all the other guys that came along, they were new. They would, you know, they actually wanted to cancel a tour, so the promoter had to call me, and he woke me up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and my wife at that time, she, you know, she said, "Oh, you know, he just woke me up. You know, he wants to speak to you. Why does he want to speak to you this early in the morning?" I said, "I don't know." So I got on the phone. He said, "Butch, would you come and do this show? We're having a lot of problems. You know, they want to see at least 2 of the original, you know, Bella Vista members up there." And so I said, "Okay, well, let's talk business, Henry." Yeah, basically, you know. Uh, So those times would come, you know, in and out, and but that was the end of, you know, it come to the end of that first the first original Bella Vista group. And Clyde Brown also came in. He was the one that replaced Bill Fredericks. Mhm.
So over the years, Butch, all these songs that we got to know and love that had the Drifters' name in front of them, and when you go and do live shows with different members of the bands, do you find it difficult to cover the songs that have been done by previous members and make it sound the same?
Say that again now. I didn't quite follow
When
you.
I'll try and rephrase it a little bit. Over the years, people get to know all the Drifters songs and as if it's like one band and it's never changed. But when you do your live shows and you get asked to play the old stuff that other members were in, do you find it very difficult to get the same sound as it was back in the day it was recorded with the other members?
No, you know, that's one thing, you know, with the Drifters, that has been a hallmark and a formula that we were able to keep together. If you look at all the Drifters coming up the line, when they picked the members, the member that came in was very close to the member that left, you see.
Gotcha.
You know, and so it's like me and Rick, you know, me and Rick we were alike in every way, you know, and we were the dancers of the group, and I mean, we thought alike. We even were causing the most problems for management, you know. And in that line, going all the way back to Rudy Lewis, he was kind of a rebel. Rick Shepard was a rebel. They had me as a rebel, you know. And so, but no, you know, we actually were able to duplicate any and everything that came before. Bill Fredericks had one of those unique voices that when you listen to Save the Last Dance, because we re-recorded it on the first the Drifters Now album in 1972. That was the first album that we did, and we re-recorded Save the Last Dance for me, and many people say it's just as good or even better than the first, but he sounds just like, you know, the original, you know, because he had one of those types of voices that carried the song that way. And so, yeah, you know, the signatures was there. Of course, Johnny was there, and Johnny sang on most of the many of the hit songs always since 1954. So his voice was, you know, definitely a key aspect of the you know, of the Drifter sound. But we were able to duplicate, you know, all that was and bring it together. So we really had no problem, and that way, you know, and that was part of the formula. Another part of the formula, a lot of people would would ask me about was, well, put it this way: the Drifters hardly ever rehearsed for anything. Even when I joined the group, the first thing they said, I said, "Well, when is rehearsal?" "What rehearsal? Just get on stage and sing." You know.
Wow.
You see. Yeah, and that's the way they did it. So we became so good at doing impromptu stuff, it became perfection. You see, so we could go there and do it, and it worked. You know, so and I tell people that all the time. You know, that's something that was unique about the Drifters. You know, it's I mean, see, I used to dance, and I used to teach dance, and I always wanted the guys to, to do the real slick movements like Gladys Knight and the Pips, one of my favorite groups, you see, and stuff like that. But trying to get the Drifters to do that, oh no, forget about it. Well, a lot of times, Bill Fredericks, he did, he did that a lot. Um, Faye Treadwell, she would pick out things, and we would have them made, and wherever we were at, we would, whether it was being made in England or Canada or France, whatever, we would have tables make it. But for the most part, it was between Bill Fredericks and Faye Treadwell.
Wonderful stuff. Shall we do another song?
Okay.
Okay, still got two of your what you say your favourites. There Goes My First Love is the next one. Why is that one of your favourites?
Well, there goes. I had well, for me, I there was a personal situation that I had, and back during that time with a lady friend, and you know, and I used to sing that song to her all the time. There goes my first love. She was an old friend of mine. And actually, that was before my wife. She was just somebody that I knew very well, and I said, "There goes my first love." No, she was. It was just during those times. Yeah, my wife, she's passed on now, so it's. But it was interesting.
So let's do it now. This is the Drifters. What year was this? What year did this come out? I haven't got actually a year. Oh, have I? I haven't got a year on it. What year was this?
That would have been around. I think we're around 1975.
That was just around the time when you were just about on your way out of the band.
Yeah. Because a lot of them, because we did a lot of songs, but they didn't release them until later. Because a lot of we started recording in 1972 when we signed with Bell Records, and the first album, of course, was the Drifters Now album. The second album was the Love Games album. You see, and they came out much later. So you're talking like 74 and 75.
And we got Love Games after this one. So let's do this next one now. It's the Drifters, and There Goes My First Love. I love this one. And we're off air. Very, very catchy sort of lyrics and in these songs. You know, they're timeless, absolutely timeless.
Yeah.
Ooh. Sorry, a problem there. So what do you think of today's music then, Butch?
Well, it depends on what are you talking about. Are you talking about hip hop and stuff like that?
Yeah, there's stuff in the charts right now, the hip hop and the dance and the house and all this rap and stuff like that.
Well, you know, some of it I like. I mean, you know, I don't like the derogative stuff, you know, but some of it I do like, and because we are in different times now, and kids have a different take on music than what we had, you know. I wish we could go back to more of what we grew up with, like, you know, the love stories and you know, the pure innocence, you know, but you don't find that today.
That's very true. Yeah. It's very true. I think that's why I created the Golden Groove Station to bring back the classic stuff, the stuff that people grew up with, the soundtrack to your life, as I like to say.
Well, the interest, you know, with these songs, of course, you obviously I mean, any of these songs, you can go back to a period of your time. That's what I was saying when There Goes My First Love. I can remember, you know, there was a particular relationship, you see. So most of those songs take you back. You know, you can go back and you remember when you were playing hooky from school and you had the grind 'em up parties in the corner. music, you would know that. Yeah.
And there goes My First Love. That's the Drifters, of course, and wonderful, wonderful stuff. I love that song. Brilliant stuff. While it was playing, actually, I just thought of another question. Did you ever meet Clyde McPhatter, Butch?
You know, I met Clyde in 1970, and Clyde was sort of down at that time. I was sad to say, and he came to see the group and the management, because we were going into the Apollo Theater and in Harlem, New York, and he had asked the management could he would like to come and sing with the group, you know, and I was tickled pink. You know, Clyde McPhatter, you know, he was the granddaddy, you know.
Yeah, the original Drifter.
Yeah, you know, and but she said no, you know, and then not too long after that he passed on, you know, and so I was it was, you know, it was, well, yeah, I mean, yes, that was a missed opportunity as far as I was concerned, but it was a sad situation because you know, he wanted to come back to do something that he actually started off. You know, he started off the whole ball game, and you know, I always thought, you know, that courtesy should have, you know, that's exactly, you know, and but it didn't happen. But I did get a chance to meet him, and so that made my day. definitely made my day. Okay, the Drifters Legends Clubhouse was something that it was a platform that I came up with in and around 2009. That's right after we finished the tour at the London O2 Arena, and the Drifters Legends Clubhouse is something that I wanted to do to, in a sense, to give all the members, past, present, and future, a voice in. It's the clubhouse is actually geared also toward all the fans of the Drifters. I invited them all in, and they have a very special place there. And it's also a platform to tell the story, to tell the facts, because it's one of the only places that you can really come and get, the real deal about who and what were the Drifters. And I'm like a pit bull. Everybody always says, because I really don't bite my tongue. I tell it how it is, and we have a lot of pirate groups and people out there that are biting off the name the Drifters. Has actually become a cottage industry here in the United States. I mean, there's probably at any one time almost 15 groups or more running around the country. None of them ever sang with the group or were in the family tree, but they're out there. And a lot of us guys, we weren't even working, you see, and we were sitting down for a few years now, just watching all this go about. So I decided to, I told the guys, I'm going to work on something, because at the end of the day, I'm going to bring everybody back. So I started this the Drifter Legends Clubhouse, and it basically started off as a social site, which is on Facebook. I created the website, the drifterlegendsclubhouse.com, and
that's how I found you. for there.
And then I began to start writing books, on the subject matter. I also have a magazine out called D Legends Universe. It's a physical magazine, and it's also an online version of it. And that's basically dealing with the Drifters, past, present, and future lifestyle, and what they're doing, and so it's like I told the guys, I said, whatever you're doing, right now, everybody wants to know. So some of the guys are out working, they're doing their own shows and maybe doing some solo stuff here. So I constantly keep them in focus with all the fans. So I write about them, and I'm constantly telling the story, as it goes along. So it's a platform where everybody can really come to get the real deal in terms of who and what were the Drifters.
So that's what you're doing now, is it?
That's what I do now. Of course, we're working on pulling the band group back together, and hopefully somewhere down the line you will see us again. I mean, there's a lot of politics in relationship to the name, so I had to create the Drifter Legends Clubhouse, and the Drifter Legends per se is something that I created, and D Legends is sometimes that we went under that name. just to kind of, not cause too much controversy when it comes to the trade names and this and that. But we are the members are the original Atlantic El Arista recording members who actually did the songs. There's nobody else that does that. And there's only 6 recording members that are around today. Of course, that's myself, Rick Shepard, Joe Blunt, Clyde Brown, Bobby Hendricks from 1955, who did Drip Drop, and Charlie Thomas, who actually Charlie Thomas is the one who holds the distinction of being the only one left of the 5 crowns that.
Butch, are you involved in the Legends Live tour?
Say again?
Are you involved in the Legends Live tour?
The past Legends Live?
I just saw on the internet there's a website, and I think it mentions Drifters, and it's a Legends Live tour, and they're booked to tour around the UK.
Around the UK, I haven't heard about it, but I will look into it.
I'll give you the link.
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, they're out there and they're going to do what they're doing. But they're not the recording members, you see. And it's only 6 of us actually that are left. And I mean, there's been many people that have worked with the Drifters, and I give them their props, of course. But I first have to look at the recording members, and then I look at after everybody else down the line. There was a young group in England that was under a management company called PMG some time ago. They're no longer the Drifters, but they are working. They're doing the musical that's been going around over there. Related to the legacy of Benny King, you see, and I actually helped consult on that actual musical, you see, and I endorsed those guys in those days when they were the Drifters. But then after all the litigations and the politics that's going down, see, a lot of people actually think that Treadwell dropped them. No, Treadwell didn't drop them, but Treadwell had problems in their own case against like the Bill Pickney estate, so things suddenly changed. So she's no longer in power anymore as like she used to be. So that's what that was about.
We've got another question come through from the chat room. It says that you're a fan of Gotham, the TV show Gotham.
That's correct.
And it says, would you like to be in the show?
Oh, I would love to be in it. I mean, it's just it's one of those things. I just love that. I love that whole concept that they did. With these earlier characters before actually the Cape Crusader actually put on his cape, so to speak. And yeah, but I like what they did with the stories. That I like so yes, I'm a very big fan of it. Okay. Yeah, well, like I said, I think at the top early part of the show that we have a roller skating organization in New York. It's the Central Park Dance Skaters Association, and we put on the the special events, during the summer season for, outdoor roller skating. The president is headed by a Bob Nichols, and he's a very dear friend of mine. And I used to be on the board of directors. I used to work with them. I'm not there now. I've sort of kind of retired away from it, but I'm still connected in many ways. But this goes on. This is something we started way back when we used to go out in the park with a boombox, and and they would chase us out of the park and so on and so forth. But we fought for it over the years, and now it's become one of the top attractions in New York City. So when people come here, they come to see see the roller skating, and we get people from all over the country that comes to hang out. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. May I shout out to a couple of friends that are listening in?
yeah, go.
Yeah, I want to say hello to Tony Trower. She's a very fine singer from the Delaware region of the country here. She's actually an excellent singer. I just wanted to say hi to you, love. Also, I wanted to say hello to a radio presenter from 103 The Eye, and that's Suling Pang. Hi, Suling. I hope you're enjoying the show.
Wonderful stuff. Thank you very much for listening. It's Golden Grooves at Spotlight Show with Butch, Leake. We're going to do another song, running a bit short of time now. Do you have to rush off on the top of the hour, Butch, or can you hang about for a bit?
I can hang about, no problem.
Okay, so we do Love Games next. This is another one of your favourites, apparently. So why is this one a good one for you?
Oh, well, Love Games, I don't know. It's just, Love Games should have been, like I said, it should have been much higher. I thought it should have been number one. It topped off at number 33 on the charts. They were supposed to get it out during Valentine's Day, but I think there was a hitch in the actual promos and this and that. But Love Games is just for some reason it's the jingle. It was always something I liked, and it just became one of my favorite songs. I don't, we had many great songs, but for some reason this song just always registers with me. So and I sing it all the time in any of my shows. If I do anything solo or whatever, it's one of the songs that I do a lot of.
Okay, so let's give it a listen. It's Love Games. It's the Drifters.
After knowing you so long, I can't believe what's going on.
Okay, we're off air.
It's kind of strange to hear you say how much you love me. 'Cause when you were only 9, I was 10.
I don't think I've played this before, to be honest.
That's done for you.
Butch, was this written by the same guy who wrote Kissing in the Back Row of the movies?
Yeah.
I thought so. It sounds very similar.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. This is all Roger. You know, this is Roger Greenway stuff. You know, so
Yeah. Did this come out after Kissing in the Back Row or before?
I no, this was I think it was before, if I'm correct. Yeah, I believe it was before.
In fact, we got Kiss in the Back Row queued up next. And we're going live in 5. And that's Love Games by the Drifters. And I'm just saying off air, if you think that sounded like Kissing in the Back Row of the movies, it's because it was written by the same guy. So the Spotlight Show just gone midnight here in the UK. What time is it with you, Butch? About 6 o'clock now, isn't it?
It is exact.
8.
Yeah, it's 6. Well, it's 7:01 here.
7:01. That's where you New York.
That's correct.
Okay, so got any more questions, music? I've run out. Ooh,
that's a hard one. I probably think like Muhammad Ali, and I have to play myself. Me, at least right off the top of my head, I'd have to think about that for a while. I mean, what are you saying? I kind of missed that. Yeah, well, you're saying what do I think I've added to the Drifters as a whole? Yeah, again, the Drifters is something that has become part of my life. I mean, I've literally grown up. I've literally grown up with this group from a young boy to joining them at a very young age, and I've lived with the Drifters, past, present, and into the future. And the Drifters has become like it's. The history of it was so unique that I decided that I wanted to embellish on this history because there was so much misinformation out there, and I I mean, I argue with a lot of people, even writers and people who have written about the Drifters and things like that, about, aspects of their commentaries on it or whatever, because, as a member, you live with this group and you live with things from the inside. So of course, obviously, there are things that I know that most outsiders wouldn't know. There are some things that I probably will never speak on, only because there's families involved and things of that nature. But I mean, these were personal things. The guys, what they might have gotten into, or things that have happened. Happened over the years. It's now that I'm really seeking to give back and to to maintain this in some sort of integrity and tell the facts about it. And we're looking at a whole lot of different aspects of carrying on the story, because it is a story, and it's probably one of those stories as big as the Four Seasons story, the one that they had the musical on, and or any of the great stories, the Motown story, or this and that. Nothing has ever really been done with the Drifters. There's no major motion pictures have been done on it, no TV movies. All these things are there, and I'm currently right now working on ideas for scripts and documentaries, and I'm in the process of I got a new book that'll be coming out soon, which is part of a pictology of the Drifters from 1953 to 2016. I have another book that'll be coming out probably next year. It's called The Drifter Wars. A lot of people ask me about that, but it's literally been that, because they're out in the marketplace now. We got so many people, competing to be a drifter and fighting for this and fighting for that. So some time ago, I came up with this concept called the Drifter Wars, and so I'm doing a book on that. And every once in a while, I publish, little commentaries on it, and on the Drifter Wars, or blogs and things of that nature. And these are some of the inside aspects of what's going on with the Drifters and the controversies that continue to go on, even unto this day.
So go on, you go ahead.
Well, again, my fans, the fans are quite unique. Let me just first say, like, the British fans, they are a very special breed of people I've found over the years. This is why I really stayed in Britain, and they really embrace the music. They embrace it so much. They even know it better than we know it. And they were the kind of people who would bring us into their home. I mean, literally. People especially in the UK. I know on a one-on-one basis. We were never the type of group that, segregated ourselves away from the fans. They could come back and get autographs, hang out with us, have dinner with us, and they would invite us into their homes. And so we had this kind of, play with the fans. So, they'd become very unique in that context of the word. I mean, the U.S. fans are very special too, though music here in the United States is somewhat, about your last hit record you had. In Europe, you can have one record and they'll bring it back and bring it back and bring it back. So I know what you call one-hit wonders who are doing fantastic business all these years on one song because people love them, and so yeah, and this question was from Anita, wasn't it? She's out there. Tell hi, Anita. I love you.
So are the Drifters actually still going now? Are they? They're still actually performing now? Are they?
Who is this?
The Drifters. Are they actually still performing now as the Drifters?
Well, I mean, it depends on who you're talking about. Like I'm saying, the recording members, like Charlie Thomas is here in the United States. He has his own Drifters group. Okay, Rick Shepard, he has his own Drifters group. Bobby Hendricks, he works sometimes with the Drifters at Drifters Review. You see. The Drifter Legends is something that I'm bringing back. We're working on that now. So the core members of the Drifter Legends are myself, Joe Blunt, Clyde Brown, and Rick Shepard. And then hopefully, down the line, we might be able to bring all the members, including Bobby Hendricks and Charlie Thomas, together with us to do maybe a big tour or a special show or whatever. The Drifter Legends is something unique, and we'll set that apart from all these other drifters out there that might be working in the marketplace. Most of them out there are not of the, like I'll say again, they're not of the family tree, and you would have to at least come under Treadwell to be in that family tree. And as far as the industry is concerned, you would have to be, one of the recording members. And this is why I say, I have to cater to the recording members first. And and then if there's someone else that, I was telling the promoter recently, I said, so if we run into a problem down the line, we always have a pool of people that we can bring in to replace one of the core members, just in case, because of course we're all out doing our own things at this particular time. You see, matter of fact, I'm the only one that's really not doing much work because I'm busy doing all the social marketing and working on building everything in relationship to the Drifter Legends Clubhouse, writing books and stuff like that. So I really hadn't had a lot of time to even focus on any sort of career in terms of performing, but now this year that all changes, and so you can look to hear from us in one way or the other very soon. That's all I will say.
So are we gonna have any more recordings made from original members of the Drifters?
Yeah, that's something that I'm actually working on. So again, trying to find the right formula. That's not an easy thing to do, especially in this day and time, because you have to kind of look at, well, we have the baby boomers or the old timers, and then we have a whole new generation of people, some who never even heard of the Drifters, and then others have, but they never heard the original members, you see, and most people don't even know the history of all this. And see, this is what I'm really doing. I'm trying to focus in on that. So I'm prepping the marketplace and prepping the newer generation and even some of the older generation, because some of them really haven't got it yet. Some of them still don't realize that there were three golden ages. In terms of the Drifters, the Clive McFadden era, then the Benny King era, then the Bella Vista period when we came along with Johnny Moore and so on. So that was three golden ages, but there were many lineups, 60, 65 members over the years that have come through. I know guys that have came in and they worked one show and then they were fired right after the show, and they were great.
Oh. So who owns the Drifters catalog now?
Well, the Drifters catalog is spread out between Atlantic and, well, our catalog right now is with Sony Music.
Right. No, that's the 70s era, is it?
Yeah, it's it was with BMG, Sony Music. It's with Sony Music as of now.
Ah, right. So all the early stuff, Clive McFadden stuff, who owns that? Is that Atlantic? Is it?
Yeah, that's Atlantic.
Right.
And of course, in 2012, me and Joe Blunt, we were given Lifetime Achievement Awards by Sony Music, and we also, along with Clyde Brown, received new gold albums for recompilation of the Drifters songs in 2012.
Right. I've got another question for you. How would you feel about a modern producer sort of re-recording or remixing some of the earlier stuff and bringing it sort of up to date with a modern beat?
Well, I mean, anything is possible out there. I think I did speak. Somebody brought that up. I think. Paul Anthony, our friend Paul Anthony. Yeah, he mentioned something like that. Yes, it could be that. It could be done. It depends. Like I said, with the Drifters. I mean, if we talk about new stuff. The Drifters, of course, over the years had some of the greatest writers, and as I spoke earlier, people like Harold King and Lieber and Stroller, and Roger Greenway, and Burt Bacharach, and numerous writers that have come through, but they were all some of the top industry writers, and they wrote some of the greatest songs for all the acts. Groups like the Coasters, and you name it down the line. They were great songwriters, and whether one can duplicate that today, it remains to be seen. I mean, when Roger Greenway came along, he did, and we had a bunch of hits. You see, and so trying to find that right formula is the trick, and it takes the right song, the right producer, and of course the guys to deliver it, and you should be able to come up with something. But taking the old stuff and rearranging it and doing it in another way would be very interesting. Depends on how it's done.
So how does that work with the songwriters? Do they write the songs and approach you to sing them, or do you commission them to write a song?
Well, I mean, in the case of the Drifters and being the name that it was, when Roger Greenway wrote our songs, Roger Greenway as a writer and producer, he was actually a Drifter fan. He was a staunch Drifter fan, so he wanted to do stuff around us, you see. And so that approach came somewhere in, of course, we were looking for a new recording company, because once it left Atlantic, the Drifters didn't have no home. The last actual hit charting song for the Drifters back in the '60s was "Ain't It the Truth," and that was the last, and that charted. I believe it was at number 36. But that was the last charting song that the Drifters had. They did record a few more songs after that, but they did nothing. And so then there was that split up, and then we came to Europe, and now we were looking for a new home to go to. So there was Bell Records, then there was Roger Greenway, who was, like I said, a major fan of the Drifters, and it all began to gel right there, you see. And of course, Roger Greenway had his own track record, teach the world how to sing, and some of the numerous tracks that he had did. So the magic was right there. It came, it all came together. So if the right mix is there, I'm pretty sure we can come up with something new.
Brilliant stuff. I should do another song. I'm going to be closing down in about 10 minutes. Is that okay with you? Another 10 minutes?
Okay, no problem.
I've got another couple of questions for you. We're going to do another song. Kissing in the Back Row of the Movies is another one of your favourite ones, apparently. Written by the same guy who did Love Games. What was his name again?
Roger Greenway.
Roger Greenway. So this is Roger Greenway, the Drifters, and Kissing in the Back Row of the Movies. This is one of my favourites. One of many. Oh, I had another question now and I've forgotten what it is now. It's gone out of my head. Oh, yes. Well, I've asked him that already.
Yeah.
I've asked him that. Oh, didn't I? Oh, right, okay. Oh, I forgot what it was I was going to say now. It was a really good question too. I can't remember what it was.
Sometimes you got to write these things down,
Oh, I've been writing a few things down. I've got a brain like a goldfish. Now I can think of things, and about a second later it's gone. These are the sort of songs you can sing along to. It's great.
Oh, yeah.
So how well did this one do in the charts? It must have been in the top 10. Must have been.
Oh, yeah. But Kissing in the Back Row of the Movie, I think it was number 2.
Ah, right. Just missed the top spot. Wow. It's kissing in the background of the movies. 25 minutes past past 12 o'clock actually, and it's a spotlight show with Butch Leake, our very special guest from the Drifters. And Butch, I love that song. That is an absolutely brilliant song. Just saying off air there, it's sort of songs you can sing along to.
Yes, they are. They're timeless in that way.
I think most of the Drifters songs are very much like that, aren't they?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's the old, the new. They've all, they all have that. I mean, I still sing these songs and listen to the songs, and they're like jingles, they ring in your head. It's always there.
Someone once said to me, hearing an old song you haven't heard for a while is like being reunited with an old friend. I think that sums it up, doesn't it, really?
Yes, it is.
Music, you're going to ask your question. Go and ask your question. Okay, I'll do it then. I asked this question off air. What do you think of the modern music of today, Butch?
The modern music of today. I mean, a lot of the modern music of today I do like. I don't like the negative music, especially the stuff that, is derogatory, or especially music that's derogatory toward women, and some of the stuff that has been put out there by some of the kids. But for the most part, it's a lot of it is message music, and I'm into that. Of course, a lot of the songs today, it would be curious to see if you would remember them a couple of years down the line, or 5 or 10 years down the line, because you don't have writers. I mean, you do have good writers, but you don't have writers like yesteryear. I mean, some of the writers of today. I mean, one of the writers, young writers that I liked, who came about, was Babyface. When Babyface came out, but Babyface was a very smart young man, because he actually studied the old school, you see, and when he did his music, he copulated some of that into where he was going, and so that was very, very smart, so some of this music, was really good, really good, and you got some very talented people today, very talented people today, but again, see, yesteryear we had what you call writer schools, so you really had to learn the structure of writing, and so you worked within a group of writers. You might have had 10 or 20 more writers, in a given area, and you all sat down and you worked on one piece of the song, and that's how you learned how to write a song. You learned how to write a good hook, a chorus, the verse, or whatever, and so you had these these schools then, and so that's how you came up with music. But you don't have these things today, even like in normal businesses. I mean, where do you find apprenticeships these days? Yesterday you used to have a lot of apprenticeships, but you don't find them today like you had yesteryear. So well, one is, you have to lean toward a consistency. Uh, Learn as much as you can from every aspect. I mean, let's go back to give an example. Ashford and Simpson. Now, Ashford and Simpson, they wanted to sing and to do the things that they did, but they couldn't really get anywhere off the, they couldn't get off the ground at that time as singers. But they became very good writers, and then they wind up writing for everybody that that is somebody, and then they built up Ashford and Simpson from that, and then they became performing artists in their own right after that. So you have to find your niche, so to speak. Whatever it is. I mean, if you're an actor, a dancer, or a writer, but you have to maintain some sort of consistency. You're going to have doors slam in your face, that's for sure, and it's not going to always be hunky-dory, so to speak, for you in this game, because it can be a very vicious business in that sense of the word. I mean, and why I say that is I remember going into to see A&R men at recording companies, and and they're listening to the music that we put in front of them, and the music is got one tempo, and they're beating out another tempo, and I'm saying to myself, wait a minute, how is he's going to evaluate this music, because he don't even got the time, but timing right, but that's the position they're in. He holds the purse string, so he'll say, well, whether you are they going to buy the song, or are they going to sign a deal with you, and you have to wonder sometime, well, does he really know what he's doing, or is he just in a high-paid job and to say yes or no, you see? And so you run into things like that. So really, you have to be consistent, and you have to that's how you have to knock down some doors. Like, I don't know how true this is, and he was a dear friend of mine, and I loved him dearly, was Gregory Hines. And before he got out to Hollywood, they said he actually had to dance on somebody's desk. And he was but so that means, so if you're saying consistency, and then you really have to be consistent at what you're doing, and that's all it is. And once you are in the game, you have to maintain that, you see. You have to you have to continually, because again, you can be as good as the last hit record you had, so you have to really stay on top of it, coming out with the next thing and doing whatever. Much of the industry has changed today a lot. Of course, they don't sell records like they used to. Everything is online and downloads and things of this nature. So it has changed substantially. But the basis of the industry is the same, and it's just being in it. You have to be in it to win it, so to speak. And so you have to pump away at it.
Well, Butch, you mentioned earlier about the structure of songs back in the day. It's slightly different now. Do you think the technology is to do with that? Because you look at things like movies and stuff. I find like science fiction movies in particular, it's all special effects, and there's hardly any storyline in it now. And it's the same with music. It's all like beats, electronic beats and stuff, and there's no structure as such in songs. Can you relate to that?
Yeah, a lot of it is that way. I mean, obviously, even when yesteryear when we had to go in the studio to sing, they didn't have ways that you can, at least in the old days, you had to sing it right when you first went in. you couldn't go back and do another take, another take, another take. They couldn't overdub and this and that. So you had to be right. You had to know the song and know the harmonies and all that. And then of course then they had the advent of all the electronics that came in. And I mean, yesteryear when you work with a drummer, a drummer, when he used to learn music, he used to learn the rudiments of drumming, you see. And show drummers back then were like machines themselves. They could keep time, you see. But a lot of the new drummers that came along, they learned drumming off the radio, listening to records and stuff like that. But they never learned the rudiments of drumming, so they never could keep time. So now you had to bring in a drum machine to play along with them, to hold them into pocket, you see, or they would go off. And
so that's why they have the little earpiece in. Is that's the actual drum machine, like a metronome thing? Is it?
Yeah, basically,
Right.
and so it's but I mean, now a smart producer learned how to utilize all those aspects, you see. So he would take all the live stuff, the live strings, the live horns, and then he would also add in the little electronic effects and so on and so forth, and he would bring it in and make a beautiful marriage out of the songs, you see. And some of those came out really, really good, but you can listen to a lot of songs where just basically electronics. They were, it's the difference between like film and video. Video is very cold, film is very warm, you see. So that's the way music is. I mean, I listen to, even when the new modern CDs and digitalized tracks came in, it bothered me in the beginning, because recording in a studio, you were used to hearing all the imperfections, and the imperfections were also on the record itself, you see. So that was a natural sound, you see. But when they started sterilizing stuff, it sounded really funny to me, and to a lot of people that came out of that school and understood it. But for a new generation who was never brought up under that, the sterilized music was perfect for him, you see, or her, you see.
Just going to throw another song in now, and we'll be back in a few seconds to chat to for Butch Leake say goodbyes. It's almost time for us to close. I want to thank you, Butch, to do it after this one. It's Hello Happiness, and another one of my favourite ones. So love this one. I threw that one on quick. I'm sorry to interrupt you guys. I need to go to the toilet. So what I'll do, I'll leave the mic running. So if I'm not back when it finishes, music, if you could take it. No, I'll leave the mic on.
No, I'm not sure where they're out of. Oh yeah, now I know the studio. Yes, I know the studio. That was in the UK, right? Yeah, it was. Well, yeah. That was a young group that I was talking about earlier, who was for a few years. I think it was like since around 2005, 2000. There was another group that I actually endorsed over there, and they were working as the Drifters, and Well, yeah, I mean, it was just that uh, the original management had taken over, and they brought me back into the picture because there was a big litigation going on in the UK over the Drifters' name, and so to make a long story short, after they fought the case and we won it, then we formed the Drifter Legends. At least I formed the Drifter Legends, and we were going around as the Drifters, featuring the Drifter Legends. You see, and that's what the last show that I did in 2009 was at the O2 Arena, where it was actually titled the Drifters, featuring the Drifter Legends. You know. No, they were okay. They were okay. They were no, it was a nice song. It was definitely a nice song. It was one of the nicer songs that they did. And they did a few songs, and they also got a gold record. Much of it was off the back of the old stuff that we did. So they compilated, they brought in the old stuff, and then they, our songs, and then put two or three of the new songs by that group, and but it was our songs that carried it into gold, you see, and that's what we got the gold awards in 2012 for. Yeah. Oh, of course, songs like "Up on the Roof," "Some Kind of Wonderful," "Via con Dios," of course, "Save the Last Dance for Me." "Let the Music Play." Um, Though that was done by Rudy Lewis, and Rudy Lewis was actually one of the greatest lead singers that the Drifters have had, but he was very underrated in the sense that he was always when he came along, he was always in the shadow of Benny King, you see. And because Benny King had did all the 50s songs into the early 60s, and then Rudy Lewis came along, and he did all those big great songs during the 60s period, but he never got the accolade that Benny King got. Now, Benny King he hardly ever worked with the group at all. Actually, Benny King, he sang those hit songs during that period, but he was under a separate management contract, so he wasn't allowed to perform with the group. But he was the voice that you heard on the lead tracks of the Drifter songs during the 50s. Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. Well, a lot of times, guys are, even like right now, even a couple of my guys, they have management contracts, so because they do other things, and of course to bring them together, and then I have to, we have to work out what I'm going to do because they do have their own management, so it becomes kind of a little complex there at times, but you can work around it. You can work around it. you know. And but the Drifters as a whole, you know, has always been with a lot of lead singers, and that was a tactic that they used throughout the, you know, the history of the group, because they did so much hiring and firing of the members, but they always kept one voice out there, you see, and that's how they operated over the years.
Okay, just had to pop out for a bit. I'm back now.
Was it good? Was it good, Mango?
It was very good. I'm much lighter now than I was before. I'm going to go into that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, what I thought I'd do, I'll play a very early Drifters track, Fools Fall in Love. I think Clyde McFadden is on this one, if I'm not correct, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right?
No, I believe that's Johnny Moore singing that.
Oh, is it? I'll try and find one with Clyde McFadden. Which ones did Clyde McFadden sing lead?
Well, Clyde McFadden, you know, the first hit song that they had was Money Honey, back in that was the big one. That was back in 1953. That was the first hit coming out of the, you know, out of the pocket when they put the group together. You see,
right.
They did have another song that did well with started off, because there was another Drifters group prior to the classic group. The classic group was with Clyde McFadden, Bill Pickney, Gay Hart, Andrew Thrasher. And then later on, they brought in a fifth member, Willie Furby, who didn't last long because he got into a car accident and he had to leave the group. So they kept it at 4. But there was, prior to that classic group, there was another group, and they did songs like Lucille, and that was the only one that did kind of well. But Atlantic didn't like the voices at the time, and I think Bill Pickney said the voices were too light, and so they asked Clyde to find some more, to put together another group, and he put those guys together, and then they came out with Money Honey. So that was the first song that was a hit for the Drifters back then.
Right, I haven't got that one on my list. I'm going to do Fools Fall in Love anyway because I love it. So,
Fools fall in love in a hurry. Yeah.
Was that you singing, or was that music singing?
That was me. Well, there was no name for the group, you see. Now, actually, you know, with the Drifters, the name the Drifters was out there long before the Atlantic group that we're talking about came about, because the Drifters was a sort of a country western aggravation. There were a lot of country western groups that were using the Drifters. Even, you remember Cliff Richards, he had a Drifters group in England, if you can remember. So
wasn't the Shadows called the Drifters before they became the Shadows?
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, it was. Yeah. It was. Yeah, it was. So the Drifters name had been out there when they formed the Drifters group. They didn't really have a name. You know, that was something that the way the story goes, Clyde McFadden toyed around with later on. So even when they recorded and the first song that came out, they really still hadn't had a Drifters name yet. You know, it's not until the subsequent recordings that then they came together and they called themselves the Drifters.
Oh, right, okay. Let's do this one. Fools Fall in Love. And who's lead on this, you say?
It's Johnny Moore, if I'm correct. Yeah.
Johnny Moore and the Drifters. I always thought that was Clyde McFadden. I don't know why.
two balls of stardust. Just hang up one silly moon, and they'll come their love just burning when they should be playing it cool. I used to laugh, but now I understand. Shake the hand of a brand new fool. Who's falling love just like little girls, blinded by those other dreams.
Are you okay to take it to the top of the hour, Butch?
Okay.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, no problem. I'll take it from 1 till 1:30 then, if you want. And we'll close this down at 1. This interview. Is that all right with you, Butch?
That's fine.
So we got about another 10 more minutes. So yeah, that's 2 whole hours.
Oh God.
It's the longest interview you've done, is it, so far? Well, I hope you've enjoyed it, Butch. I just want to thank you once again off air.
I had a lot of fun. Yes, I did.
Good, thank you. Try and keep it sort of informal, just like a friendly chat, really. And there we go, that's Fools Fall in Love. And I just heard in chat there, someone said Joe Dolan's backing group was also called the Drifters.
Oh, yes, yes.
So many drifters around there.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Like I said, there's a lot of people who had, I mean, the Drifters name was something that was out there, among different, especially country and western groups. It was kind of a country and western name. The Drifters.
Yeah. So what's your plans apart from the tribute? What was it called you're doing? I can't forget. Legends.
Yeah, the Drifter Legends. Yeah.
Drifter Legends. Apart from that, have you got any other plans for the future?
Oh, well, that's a good question. That's really the foremost thing on my mind right now. For next year, I'm really spending a lot of time focusing on getting. I don't have much time to do anything else. I haven't taken a vacation in a long time.
So are you still doing live shows then, Butch?
Oh, well, like I said, I haven't been doing much of any lately. But every once in a while I do, I go out, and I work with Rick Shepard sometime, and I help him with his shows, and get on the road with them, and because I'm writing, so a lot of times I like to go out with the acts, and so it gives me a better perspective on what I'm doing, and I'm also a photographer. So I do take a lot of pictures. I have to do that a lot, and of the bands as they're working, and these are things for the books and for other projects that I'm working and doing in and around the Drifters story. You see, so
right.
So it's an ongoing. It's an ongoing. I wear so many different hats. That's basically what I'm saying. I'm wearing all these hats. And that hopefully next year I can give this over to someone else and say, you do this. Yeah.
So if people wanted to get in touch with you, how could they do that?
Well, the best way, well, one, you can come through the website, the drifterlegendsclubhouse.com, if you want to know anything about the Drifters, or you can find us on Facebook at the Drifter Legends Clubhouse, or you can write me at the Drifter Legends Clubhouse at gmail.com. That's the Drifter Legends Clubhouse at gmail.com. So you can actually get me there, you know. And I'm pretty easy to find. Very
Well,
easy.
I found you.
Yeah, and I'm up on Facebook, so my telephone number is there, so you can always, ring me. I answer, I talk to anyone, so I don't, discard. If you got something to say, get in contact with me. If you have a question, then fine, write me or give me a call, or contact me up on Facebook. Join the clubhouse. Those fans out there who are not members, come to the Drifter Legends Clubhouse on Facebook. Request membership, and any of your questions, whatever, will be answered there, and you can talk to me and talk to the guys directly. We're all there, so very easy to find us. Very easy to find us.
Well, I just want to thank you so much for being on the show and coming to Golden Grooves, Butch. Yes, it's been wonderful and really enjoyed the interview. I hope you have too.
Likewise, I enjoyed it, and I'm happy to meet you guys. Music, we got to talk more sometime. Okay, you're on.
Join up, guys, and then film it, and then we can judge who's the best.
Yeah, yes, and Mango, yes. Thank you for having me, on, and I hope we can do this again sometime. And
Yeah, please
have a
come back
lot
and
of
tell us
fun.
how your new project's going.
Oh, will do, definitely, most definitely. And you'll hear about it anyway, because you're up there. So the buzz will get around as we move
Sure it will.
on. Oh yeah, Al Bennett. Yes, he was our he was our driver. Yeah, for many years. He's one of the dearest friends I have. I love him madly. Yeah, he drove for us for many years. You know, especially back in the '70s. Yeah. Oh yeah. Hi, well, hi Al. Hi Al. If you're out there, I love you, guy. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome.
Yes, thank you very much indeed. So, ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Spotlight Show with Mango Music and the legendary Butch Leake from the Drifters.
If you like lots of music, you'll just love us. More to like and love on Golden Grooves Radio, your favorite retro oldies station.
Just restarting
Thank
the
you, guys.
encoder. There we go. I restarted the encoder. So there we go. So thanks
Okay,
again,
guys.
once again, Butch. It's
Okay,
been a
guys.
pleasure and an honor to have you with us.
Oh, no problem. And I
You
guess I'll
take care.
Okay, and I'll see you up on Facebook.
Wonderful, wonderful. Keep in touch. Keep in touch.
Okay.
Cheers, mate. Bye-bye.
Good night. Bye-bye.